Sairam, and welcome to our next episode of Chai with Sai Season 2. We're glad to be doing another one this time, and this time around, we've got quite an interesting topic, which I'm sure a lot of us can learn lots of useful things from, especially in this day and age, and to share some more thoughts and shine some light onto this issue. We figured who better to bring along with us than a radiant presence and also a bundle of joy, Auntie Dolly. Who we have with us here today. Auntie Dolly, welcome in. So lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Chandramauli. And also thank you so much for inviting me for
It's
this.
pleasure is ours, Auntie. As someone who I assume who's been within the Sai family for such a long time, right? I mean, we'd love to get to know you a bit better before we kick off into the questions. So, would you care to share with us how you got involved with the Sai movement and be a part of the Sai family?
Okay, this actually is a very long story, but I'll make it very short. It all happened when my second girl was born, Sajita. When we were celebrating her second birthday, somebody gave her a gift. And this gift was Swami's emblem, And when I saw this gift, I in fact was quite amazed, and I told her, what a gift to give a child. She should get some toys or what. Instead of that, is Swami's picture, Sai Baba's emblem has been given to a 2-year-old child. And of course, I just left it aside and just forgot about it. Maybe it was a test from Swami. After that, I developed very bad problems in my hand. I had very bad rashes due to detergent. So my mother-in-law, who was already in the Sai fold, told me, why not you fast every Thursdays, take Swami's Vibhuti and apply on your hands. It could work, she said. So I did exactly what she said, and to my amazement, it just went off like that. And till today, I still do washing, but I don't get any kind of problem using detergent. And that was one of Swami's way of showing that I am there. And the emblem itself had these words on it. Why fear when I am here? And all this I recollected. As time went by, the children were growing, they were going to school. And one fine day, it all happened at a wedding when one of my brother-in-law, the late Uncle Sundram, he approached and asked me, why not you come into the Sai fold and be a guru? It will be very nice. You having 3 daughters yourself, put them all in the Sai fold. So I took his advice and started going for training, and he became a guru. My children became all Sai devotees. My whole family, in fact, we all went into the Sai fold. At that time, it was in the Malawi Center. We were very active there. And till today, we are all still in the Sai movement. And now they are married with children. And my grandchildren have now joined us into the Sai fold.
Well.
And they are all taking part in dramas and everything, going for Balvikas classes, this and that. And way back 97 or 98, I became a guru. And till today, I'm still teaching.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is my, that's my way of, knowing Swami and keeping him close to me and to my family. And what makes me very happy is that I've brought them all into the Sai fold. That is the greatest achievement I feel I have done in my life that my children, my grandchildren, and even my son-in-laws, for that matter, are all in the Sai fold.
That's wonderful, Auntie.
Thank
We
you.
started off from like a confusion at first, right? And then it turned into belief. And then slowly it became into faith.
Faith. True.
Faith is
Very
blind
true.
trust, blind
Very
faith
true,
in
very
Swami.
true.
And next thing you know, your family, Sai and your
Yes.
family is synonymous. It's just
Yes.
one. That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that
Thank
beautiful
you.
experience.
Right.
Sums your journey really
Yeah.
nicely. Right. So before we get into our topic, actually, I'd like to quote a line from Swami. Actually, it's actually something that Swami tells us to practice. From the 9 codes of conduct.
Yes.
And one of those 9 codes of conduct is actually to speak softly and lovingly to everyone. So that's something that Swami tells all of us to do and to practice on an endless basis every single day. No matter what we do, as long as we're using speech to communicate, do so kindly and lovingly. Right? So there's a lot of things one can interpret from that. And there's a lot to think about when it comes to actually putting that into practice, especially in today's world, given so much going on, so much good, but so much bad as well. It's something for us to think about, isn't it? But before we start off, let me just paint a picture for everyone. Paint a picture of what it means to be speaking softly and lovingly, or rather, shall I say, the absence of it. So let's just say most of the world today is an online-driven world. Everything's on the internet. No longer are we ringing up people on their dial-up phones, those dial-up phones. No longer are we pressing big buttons. We hardly even with these high-tech mobile phones, we're not even calling and having conversations with people anymore. Everything is happening through text. Everything is happening through social media. Everything is happening through short form videos. Everything is happening so much and so fast that the meaning behind having a spirited conversation between two people or a group of people is slowly losing its value, right? It's hard to find those kind of honest conversations these days. Speaking of honest conversations, you can already see that linking with speaking kindly and lovingly, right? Because you can't have an honest conversation without love, without kindness, right? So these days, when people share their views, say someone sharing their view online, an opinion on something, now I'm sure it's only fair to everyone that everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Everyone is entitled to it. But of course, that means that someone else might have a different opinion. Someone else might think differently. And the whole point when it comes to communicating that opinion is sharing their truth. Their truth, meaning their version of the truth. So it is not the objective truth. It may or may not be the objective truth. The objective truth here being the absolute truth, a factually correct statement to something. But in this case, given an opinion, it may or may not be an objective truth, but it may be their own personal truth, which is why they believe in it. To the extent they share it on an online platform or to a group of people, to someone. So people know, this is what they think about this topic. But someone else might come along and say, oh no, you are wrong, I am right. Then they go ahead proceeding to explain why they think this person is wrong, and they keep saying, now I am right. But in the heat of all these kinds of arguments, you can say, there's no really other word for it, these kinds of arguments, what starts off as an expression of an opinion, of a thought, turns into an argument instead of a conversation. So it splits. Instead of having a conversation, it turns into an argument. And that's where I believe the love is lost. It becomes absent instead of present. As the nature of love is, it's either absent or it is either it's present or it's absent. And when these kind of things happen, you really wish to think, wouldn't it be nice if we could stop and think? Okay, stopping and thinking is part of being rational in conversation. That's one thing. But when it comes to being kind and loving, when we are having these thoughts, expressing ourselves, right? It's really hard for a lot of us to do, isn't it? It's one thing to have differences in opinion. We see that all the time. It's hard to get the world on a same page. It's you could say, the root cause of most conflicts. But it would be a lot more approachable if these differences in opinions were simply brought along in a kind and loving way, isn't it? If you really take a moment to think about it, these differences in opinion, or even just something that is a projection of our own thoughts, of our own hearts, right? If we were to verbally express it, doing so with kindness, doing so with love, it only shows a part of our vulnerability, a part of what makes us a human being, right? We are projecting it with love. But I think it's a shame that a lot of us forget that, isn't it? It's a real shame that a lot of us forget that. And actually, that leads into the first thing I would like to ask you here. So, speaking of, people in the absence, I've given you like a nice example of what it's like when people don't do so, like what happens in light of that. What do you think it means, in your own words, to be kind, to speak kindly and to speak lovingly, like what Swami says?
It's an interesting topic. Swami puts it very well in his 9 codes of conduct. Speak softly and sweetly, he said. Sweetly means also lovingly. If you ask me, you can achieve anything in life if you speak softly and lovingly. You have peace within you. As Swami says, why go and search for peace outside when there is peace within you? So, to attain that, I think we should all speak very softly and lovingly. It's very, very difficult to do. It's easy to preach, but very hard to practice. But as the saying goes, practice makes perfect. We should all imply this in our daily lives, and at every situation we are in. There are so many things that are happening around us these days, and everybody is so tensed up, everybody is so stressed at work, at home, anywhere. But then at the end of the day, Swami's teachings really comes in handy for all of us, and to be harsh with words to another person is actually, we are not following Swami's teachings at all. So it's completely forgotten, And when you show love, when you talk softly, when you talk lovingly, you're being considerate, and you have empathy towards others' feelings.
Empathy.
And Swami says, there's a proverb that says, what you don't want others to do to you, you would not want others, you won't want...
you wouldn't want to do that to them.
Do that to them. What you... So it all depends on you. If you want to be good, then you should show the first example. So the good will come back to you.
Right.
So that's how I feel that talking lovingly, talking softly, talking sweetly, and being kind, all this just gives us inner peace.
Searching for that inner peace within. Like you say, it's not really a search, it's already within. I guess you could say it's more like realizing that peace
true.
within. So by expressing ourselves with love and with kindness, we inevitably find that peace within ourselves. That's a lovely definition, you can say, Auntie, which leads into my next point, actually. As I've said before in the intro, it's hard for people to do that. And even you said it takes a lot of practice. It's easy to preach, it's easy to say, just be nice, but in today's world, people, we see something small, it offends us, we get triggered. There are things constantly making people walk on eggshells, things that upset us. We feel like we are disconnected from the world, even though in essence we are all living on the same world. But it all comes down to having that difference in opinions, and not being able to express them with a loving manner, with kindness, and it leads to a multitude of problems after that. So why do you think it's so hard and so challenging for people to put that into practice? What do you think the big challenge is here for people to follow that?
There's no spiritual background. Spirituality, you must have spirituality to attain all this. When we don't have spirituality in us, we tend to do a lot of mistakes, and then we feel that if we raise our voice, if we use harsh words, you can get to it. But little do you realize that when you speak softly and lovingly, a lot of things can be done in a way, and it can be settled very well. I don't know, but then because of this fast world, everybody tends to get very, very badly tensed up and stressed out, and for every small thing they get angry. It's not only to the outside world, even within yourself, within your family. You can be a Sai family, but then within your own family members, everybody gets tensed up and stressed out, and it takes some time for them to really realize, oh, I should not have done that. Oh, I should not have spoken that. It's not nice for me to be like that. But as long as you realize that you have made a mistake, then I feel that they should carry on, and of course Swami is there. Swami's teachings are there, because Swami himself says that the easiest path to spirituality is to speak softly and kindly, and do good for others. That's the easiest path to spirituality. You can progress in your life if you have spirituality in you, and following Swami's teachings. That's most important, because his teachings come in so handy at every situation. Every situation, Swami's teachings are there, and that makes us, feel so good, and it also makes us realize, and the fear is also there. Oh, I mean, Swami is watching us. Swami is hearing what we are saying, so we should try not to, speak rudely to anybody, to use unkind words, and even to children. When you speak to them with kindness, with love, they really respond to you.
Children really do.
I think, I feel this is that's happening these days, with not much spirituality in people. Everybody tend to have their own ways, and they feel that by talking loudly, by being harsh, they can achieve everything. But it doesn't mean that when somebody has an argument with you or a fight with you, you should talk very softly. Oh, don't do this to me. No, you can talk loud but firmly. You use firmness in your voice.
The intention behind the voice.
You use firmness in your tone, and tell that person, I think what you said was not right. Can you be more pleasant next time? I think that will really hit back at that person who have used harsh words at you. But shouting and screaming and at that person will only make matters worse.
Right. So there's two key things you said. One is a lack of spirituality, and also people preferring to be harsh because it gets the job done.
Yeah.
But from my personal observation and from my personal experience, I see like anger, harshness is as a means to an end. It gets the job done in the short term, but the repercussions in the long term, they follow you back. When someone is kind to you, you remember their kind deed. Same way, if you're harsh to them, people remember, people take note. Especially in today's world where things are happening online, and when you're doing something online, it's never just to one person, it's to the world.
Yes.
The whole world can see. So you're putting yourself out there as someone who speaks in such a manner, and that in turn, I would say, decreases people's perception of you. Oh, this person speaks this way, I should take what they say after this with a hint of salt, because I do not feel their intentions are pure behind it. Same way, if we speak kindly and people see, oh, I think this person, they sounded really nice, I think their intentions are pure. We shouldn't get into people who are pretending to be nice, instead they are not. That's a whole other thing that goes more into intentions rather than the speech, the nature of the speech itself. But you can see, if you intend on speaking kindly and lovingly, it shows, and the effects of it also will come shortly after. And in the long term, I think it's undeniably, it's an undeniable fact that it will bring more benefits to us and to the world at large if we would just speak kindly and lovingly. And as well as to the first thing you said, having a lack of spirituality. And I completely agree with what you said. I mean, it's just practicing speaking kindly, speaking with love is the simplest thing you can do to approach spirituality. That, in addition to doing service to humanity, I think those two things go hand in hand. But it goes to show just how important it is. Because I personally know people who aren't religious, but they are spiritual.
Yes.
And they are very nice people.
Yes.
I have friends who are also atheists, but they are some of the nicest people I've ever met.
True, very true.
So at the underlying, I think you can simplify, you can distill spirituality as having a firm faith into the values that you personally believe are true, are right, that bring good for yourself, benefits to yourself and to the world, and sticking to that. And if one of them happens to be kind to everyone around you, regardless, I think that's an already good starting point. That's a very strong starting point. So yeah, I completely agree with what you said, Auntie. I believe everyone could use a bit more spirituality in their lives, a bit of introspection, looking within themselves to find that peace. Peace also, like you say, people express themselves, and you can clearly tell their mind, their hearts are not in a peaceful state. I believe speaking kindly and lovingly would solve that issue.
Yes.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I totally agree with you, because I mean, what is wrong in talking lovingly and kindly to everyone? In whatever situation it can be, because you cannot judge another person.
Yes.
We cannot judge them. They could be in a very difficult situation. If they are not showing the pleasantness to you, you show them that you are a very loving person, you're a kind person, and you can pull a lot of persons towards you by your way of conducting yourself. And being a guru, you have to conduct yourself very well for the others to look up at you.
Right.
Swami always says, the end of education is character. So, I mean, talking lovingly, talking softly. I mean, softly, I feel sometimes it's quite difficult. Even I myself cannot talk softly, but lovingly. Talking lovingly, kindly, to anybody. Not it doesn't only mean you have to be like that to your side friend, even people outside. Even when you go, to anybody, even if you buy groceries, you go to the market, be kind to them, talk to them lovingly. They will really, come. I mean, they will really look up at you, and they themselves will talk kindly and lovingly to you. So it all I think everything boils down on us, how we should conduct ourselves. And Swami is always there for us to teach us, to tell us what you should do and what you should not do. Every saying of Swami really reflects, and it really, it sort of pricks our heart, with his beautiful words. Many times you would have done something wrong, a mistake, and then Swami is there to tell you, why fear when I am here? That's one of the conduct. And love all, serve all. And he says that really, oh Swami, you said love all, serve all. I just spoke not lovingly to a colleague of mine. And what you do, you repent. And the best thing you can do is to say sorry. And to say sorry is not enough. You must make sure you do not do that mistake again.
Right. That's lovely, Auntie. It's one more thing that came into my mind as well when it comes to expressing ourselves with love, but also sometimes when we want to make a point, right? And when we're holding on to that, our version of the truth. While I do believe, I think it's only fair for everyone to be free, to have that freedom of expressing their thoughts. It should be, and it needs to be done in the right way. And in the right way, in this case, to be expressed in a loving and kind manner. I'd say if I were to make this into a fun situation, I'd say, hey, this is what I think about this, and this, instead of, no, this is what I think, this is true, and everything else that is not this is wrong. So there's already within these two itself, you can see where they're coming from. One person is the first person is open to their interpretation on the topic, on the idea, whereas the second person is firmly believing, and if you try to change their mind, they would be upset about it. I think that's what a lot of people aren't as well. It goes, I'd say, with a certain degree of openness. You have to open your heart to it, open your mind to it as well. While it's important to be accepting of the truth and wanting to know the truth, being curious and all that, being a firm believer of your own truth, that can also, I think, hinder this whole process of speaking kindly and lovingly. Because if you're too engaged in that, if you only stick with one truth, you're essentially closing your heart, closing your mind to any other possibility. That means everything else that anybody else say, it's wrong. I'm not going to believe. I'm going to believe what I'm going to believe only. That is true. So anybody who opposes my opinion, they are against me. I cannot friend them. It's a bit childish kind of mentality, but it's a little sad to see when important decisions in the world are being made on such notions, because we lack that ability to be open and to be kind with one another, to accommodate and to compromise. I actually like to make a nice analogy with how relationships work as well, because I think that's relatable to a lot of people. If there's a problem, if there's an issue, a lot of people fight. While people say fights in relationships is inevitable. But in the end, it's how you overcome that fight.
True.
Were your intentions pure behind it? Were what you were trying to say or what you're trying to mean as you were fighting, was it in the right place? So to resolve conflicts, to resolve problems in relationships, right? It's always important to always remember, after you've made your point, you have to reflect back on yourself. Have you made your point clear, and did you do so in a loving manner? Was the intention behind what that has been said or expressed love? If that was not the intention, then that's not good. Because the intention wasn't love. The intention was to get your point across, to dismiss the other's point of view. So there's no conflict that can be resolved with that sort of selfish thinking, I'd say. Because when you come from a point of view where you just want to be loving, even if you have an argument, a conflict, a fight, in the end you want it to be resolved. You want to say, okay, I think I'm right, but I heard you and why you think I'm wrong, and I also heard why you think you're right and I'm wrong, and I see the truth to that. So if a lot of times it just comes down to compromise. Can we keep living as long as we can find this middle ground between the truths? Okay, you have your truth is right. I have my truth. My truth is also right. There may or may not be some falsehoods within those truths. Say if someone were to point out something scientific, for example, and they rebut it with their own personal belief. Oh, this particular thing did not happen. A lot of people's first instinct is to go read a book. It's in there.
True.
But again, that intention when they say, go do something like that, it's not coming from love. It's coming from a lack of understanding, a lack of empathy toward that person themselves. And I think it hits to our next question here. When it comes to finding that balance, right, that compromise, how do you think we can find that balance? So I just gave an example in terms of like my metaphor in a relationship, but in general, when we are speaking with one another, how do you think we can find that balance between being rational, which is important as well in a conversation, being rational, but also being loving, speaking lovingly?
Very challenging
It is very
question.
challenging.
Okay, in relationship, if you ask me, to be very truthful, to be very honest, I feel that your partner can be a person who uses harsh words, who wants to stand for his rights, whether you are right or wrong. But in my case, that's what I'm talking for myself. I'll remain silent. I'll remain silent. For me, silence speaks everything. Why go and shout? Why go and fight? Why go and make yourself clear to your partner or to anybody that you are wrong, I am right? At the end of the day, Swami knows everything. I take it in. Swami knows everything. So for me, silence is my weapon.
But in general, do you think silence would be a good thing to apply as well?
Actually, that's what I say, we cannot judge others. And different people have different opinions. And their way of tackling a problem will be very, very different. The situation will be a different kind of situation. So for some, they might want to clear their stand. But by clearing your stand, you needn't use harsh words.
Right.
You need not use harsh words. You be firm in your stand, but in a most loving way. You can achieve anything by being loving, by talking lovingly, being kind. But if you're going to also shout and use harsh words, that other person will also do the same thing to you.
Right.
So where do you end your problem? So, by speaking softly and kindly and lovingly, you can achieve anything. That's where I said that spiritual progress, by doing good, you are already going into a spiritual progress. The path to spiritual progress is there. So I feel that you can solve any problems by talking in a most loving way and being very kind in your words. But you can be firm. You needn't shout, but you can, your voice, you can raise your voice, but not very loud, but be firm.
Right.
In what you want to say, what your stand is, but never use harsh words. Because when you use harsh words, being a Sai devotee, Swami's teachings is completely gone.
Right.
That is how I take it. But but if you ask me, I prefer to remain silent. I know, as what you said, whether it can solve that problem, the other side. But sometimes I feel, if you're silent, as Swami says, silence speaks for itself. And maybe the other person will think she's not responding to what I am saying, so I just leave it like that. I just leave it like that. But
Instead of solving the problem, just leaving it.
I just leave it like that, and maybe my silence might teach that person to just leave that problem as it is. That's how I feel, but it's not with everyone. So I feel if you need to voice out, do it in a most loving way, kind way. Use right words, use good words. That will actually solve the problem.
Right.
If you're going to shout and use harsh words, definitely it will never solve any problem.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword. Silence.
Yeah, true.
Well, I do agree that it can be useful in many situations. Just refraining,
Yes.
practicing that self-patience, self-control. Silence can be very, very powerful. But at times when I think it's important to also know, but this is like we're going a bit off topic, but also just to touch on it, to know when to say something and when not to.
Yes, very true.
That's more onto self-control. So if we know what we say is not going to be accepted with love, it's better to stay silent. Right? Silence speaks a lot as well there. But now that we've talked a lot already about that, Auntie, I think it's about time we shared something that about what we can do for ourselves and for the world at large. So it's clear that there's a lot of positives that come out of when we practice speaking softly and speaking lovingly. So is there like a top 3 or top 5? What do you think are the biggest benefits that we can get when we practice speaking softly and speaking lovingly? So some of a few points that you think are the most beneficial for us.
Of course, love.
Mm-hmm.
Love can conquer anything. So, if you speak lovingly, kindly, actually being kind is being nice. Being kind is being nice, being friendly, being considerate, having compassion for others. All this is what speaking softly and lovingly and kindly is all about. Because at the end of the day, if you are not going to speak kindly to anyone, the love in you will not grow. If you want the love in you to grow, you have to show kindness. You have to show lovingness.
Right.
Consideration, compassion. These are all the key points in talking softly and lovingly and also kindly. Because kind words really makes a person feel good. And you yourself feel good. At the end of the day, you feel, it's so simple when you go to a center and when you come back home, you recollect, how was my not to say my journey, how was my day at the center? Was I kind to everybody? Did I talk loving to everybody? Did I smile at everyone? Did I show love? And when you recollect, yes, I did all this. That's where peace comes within you. Why go and search for peace outside when Swami say peace is within you? And it makes you so happy, so joyful. You can, the rest of the day, it's a beautiful day for you because you have actually practiced Swami's teaching. Speak softly and lovingly, Swami says.
Right. So it's as a means to be more spiritual, to find peace, and also just to embody the love that we are. Not just we practice, we are love essentially. So with all those benefits in mind, right? So now's the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
Let's say what can we do? How do we put this in motion? So now that we've talked all so far, right, everything. Now the big question: how do we actually? What are some tips that you can give, to the younger generation, especially to the future coming generations or to people out there, if they are finding it troublesome or to finding it difficult to practice being loving, what are some tips you can give them to practice in their daily lives?
Okay, I mean, as what I say, try practicing talking lovingly. Firstly, try practicing talking lovingly in any situation, and be kind to everyone. Let it be anyone. Be kind, and when you do all this, when you talk lovingly, when you show kindness, I feel you can progress in your own life. So tips I give for the teens these days, even children who are growing up, be nice to one another. That even to my own grandchildren, I used to tell them, be nice to one another. When you're nice to one another, you feel good, you feel happy. Don't use unpleasant words. That's very, very wrong. Using unpleasant words, harsh words, it gets you nowhere. Of course, you would want to, you'd want to raise a point there, but you can do it in a very loving way. You needn't shout at your friends, or even in a family with your brothers and sisters, or even to your parents. You can talk to them in a very loving way. And likewise, parents too. Talk to your children in a very loving way. Use kind words. And I think you can pull them all towards you.
Right. So, so with all those tips that you shared, Auntie, I think it's valuable. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Auntie?
I think we have said enough about now the topic today was talking softly and lovingly. And I know it's very, very difficult to practice. It's easy to preach. We can go and tell everyone, talk softly, talk lovingly, but you must do that first. You must do that first. So when you talk lovingly, that person also will talk back to you lovingly.
Right.
So Swami's code of 9 code of conduct, which it says speaks softly and lovingly, he has a point there. Why he says speak softly and lovingly is he feels that there is love there. At the end of the day, Swami's only teaching is love, love, love. Love
right.
all, serve all. Help ever, hurt never. That is what Swami says. So all this, we can do it by talking lovingly, sweetly, and kindly.
That's beautiful finisher. I suppose with that, it wraps us up. It comes to the end of our podcast for today. But Auntie, thank you so much for all those lovely sharings and insightful thoughts. It's been a pleasure and it's been amazing to hear. Thank you all for watching this episode of Chai with Sai, and we hope to see you again in the future for another episode. Thank you, Auntie, for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you soon. Sai Ram.